In the barren, windswept steppes of Mongolia, in the year 1206, a man named Temujin rose from obscurity. He would later become known as Genghis Khan, one of history's most feared and celebrated conquerors. His empire stretched farther than that of Alexander the Great, Napoleon, or Rome. From China to Persia, from Russia to the edge of Europe, the Mongols swept across the world like a storm. But Khan's greatest legacy was not just in land, wealth, or power. It was in blood. Today, scientists estimate that nearly 16 million men alive carry his DNA. That's 0.5% of the world's male population, all connected to one man who lived 800 years ago. How is that even possible? This is the story of Genghis Khan, warrior, emperor, and perhaps the most prolific father in history. Temujin was born around 1162 to a small Mongol tribe. His childhood was far from noble. At just 9 years old, his father was poisoned by rivals. His family was abandoned and forced to survive by eating wild roots, fish, and even mice. This hardship shaped Temujin into a survivor. Unlike other Mongol leaders who relied only on noble birth, Temujin believed in loyalty and skill. As a boy, he learned to ride horses before he could even read or write. He could shoot arrows accurately while galloping at full speed. His early years taught him a cruel lesson. To survive, you must be stronger, smarter, and more ruthless than your enemies. By his late teens, Temujin began gathering allies. He made friendships, forged blood brotherhoods, and slowly pieced together tribes that had once fought against each other. In 1206, after years of battle and betrayal, Temujin was declared Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. Once united, the Mongols became an unstoppable force. They were horse-crazed warriors, capable of traveling up to 100 miles in a single day. Each warrior carried multiple horses so they could switch mounts and never tire. They were masters of the bow, able to fire arrows with deadly accuracy from horseback. But their true genius was organization and psychology. Genghis Khan divided his army into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, a structure that made communication and discipline flawless. He used spies and scouts for reconnaissance, often learning everything about a city before attacking it. He spread terror deliberately. If one city resisted, it was burned to the ground, and its population slaughtered. The next city, hearing the horror, often surrendered without a fight. And in these conquests, women were taken. Wives and daughters of defeated rulers became part of Khan's household. For him, this was not just desire, it was politics. By taking the women of conquered tribes, he created heirs that connected bloodlines, securing loyalty, or at least submission. But let's not romanticize this. The Mongol conquest was brutal. Historians are clear. Rape was part of the war strategy. Women had little choice. Refusal often meant death, or worse, being handed over to soldiers. Genghis Khan's commanders knew to reserve the most beautiful women for him. He took wives and concubines wherever he conquered. Some he married formally, others were forced into his bed as spoils of war. One chilling truth: many alliances were sealed not with handshakes, but with marriages. The daughters of defeated rulers were given to Khan. These women became mothers to his children, who in turn expanded his lineage. For Genghis Khan, women were not just companions, they were instruments of empire. Fast forward nearly 800 years. In 2003, a team of scientists published a shocking study. They discovered that about 8% of men living across regions once ruled by the Mongols shared nearly identical Y-chromosomes. That equals about 16 million men alive today. How do we know it links back to Genghis Khan? The genetic markers all trace back to one man who lived roughly 1,000 years ago, right in the time and place of Genghis Khan. Since Y chromosomes pass only from father to son, this points directly to a massive male lineage.
Think about it. One of Khan's sons reportedly had 40 sons of his own. Multiply that by generations, across centuries, and the math explodes. It's why today, millions of men from Uzbekistan to China, from Afghanistan to Mongolia, may all share the same paternal ancestor, Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was both feared and admired. To some, he was a monster, a barbarian who slaughtered millions and destroyed entire civilizations. To others, he was a genius, a leader who united the steppe tribes, established trade along the Silk Road, and created laws that protected merchants and travelers. But his personal reputation? It was complicated. Stories of his cruelty are endless: mass executions, burning cities, entire populations wiped out. Yet there are also stories of loyalty, where he rewarded those who served him faithfully, regardless of their background. Still, the most chilling legacy was his treatment of women, taken without choice, used to spread his bloodline, and remembered today as part of his darker side. Genghis Khan died in 1227 under mysterious circumstances. Some say it was illness or injury. Others whisper darker tales, that he was assassinated by a captured princess who refused to submit to him. His burial site remains one of history's greatest secrets. According to legend, his soldiers killed anyone who saw the funeral procession. Horses trampled the earth to hide the grave. To this day, no one knows where he lies. But death did not end his story. His descendants expanded the empire even further, reaching into Europe, ruling over Russia, conquering Persia, and establishing the Yuan dynasty in China. And with each new conquest, his bloodline grew stronger, spreading across continents. Today, Genghis Khan is remembered in many ways. In Mongolia, he is celebrated as a national hero, the father of the nation. In the West, he is often remembered as a brutal barbarian. And in science, he is known as the Superfather, a man whose genetic legacy is unmatched in history. One man, 16 million descendants. A legacy written not just in history books, but in human DNA itself. Genghis Khan conquered with horses and bows, but his greatest conquest may have been biology. 800 years later, the shadow of the great Khan still rides among us, in blood, in memory, and in the very chromosomes of millions alive today.